very, there you go. You're very welcome to that. Okay, brilliant. So let's get on to sales basics. Now, I get asked lots of questions mainly about sales, and I'm often surprised when we get to the Q&A bit at the end. We've been talking about some fairly advanced stuff, and but the questions and answers almost always come down to the basics and mastering the basics. So I'm really interested to hear if anyone has any questions on that. Let's keep going, because this is supposed to be an interactive and a session that provides value to you. Okay, right. So what we're going to talk about, first of all, depending on where you're coming in from, in the chat box, which I will try to keep an eye on, just let us know whereabouts you're coming in from. And I can see a couple of people there from God's own county in Yorkshire before I start the wall, but just let us know where you're coming in from. That would be really, really good. And while you're doing that, I'll just tell you a little bit, if I may. How you got to hear about this was on LinkedIn. Was it on Eventbrite? You searched on Eventbrite, or you Googled it, or whatever. It helps. It'd be good to have a number where you think you are in terms of confidence in sales and selling, because I do this for a living, but I wouldn't score myself at a 10. Every day is a school day. I firmly believe that. That would be good. Yeah, Fatima, just a disclosure, by the way, Fatima, if you don't mind, Fatima and I are working quite closely together. Fatima's a brilliant MBA student at Birmingham City Business School, and we work quite closely together. So, full disclosure, Kings Winford, Stephen, West Midlands on LinkedIn, confidence 5 out of 10. Brilliant. I'll see if I can get you 1 or 2 points above that, Stephen. That'll be really good. And in a nutshell, I've been in sales 30 years, 30 plus years. Let's be honest. I've worked on all sorts of contracts. Switching that off now. And value propositions, if you like, ranging from sort of high volume, low cost type opportunities. From most recently, I did some work with BT on their broadband offer. Sorry about that. And they range, so high volume, low cost, whatever your version of low cost is, but about £30 a month, right up to large deals with Vodafone, selling into Vodafone. Vodafone was the client, and that was over $1 billion. And the principles actually are pretty similar, whatever you're selling, whether your product or your service is £50, or whether it's £500,000, or even 500 million. The principles are largely the same, in that you have a customer with some desire, you've got a product or a service, and you're going to try and map what you do to what they want to buy. And importantly, if you can't do that, then to get no early and move on to someone that does want to buy what you want to sell. Okay, brilliant. Catherine, thank you for that. Based Tamworth, okay, peaceful part of the world. Okay, and I work with, so I do sales training, but also I do run sales campaigns, and Fatima is working very closely with me in a couple of sort of sales campaigns that we have going on at the minute, and that's proving to be great fun. Well, it is for me anyway. So, and I work with business schools as well, because I want to have some sort of contribution to bring it on the next level of the next generation, if you like, of sales professionals as well. So I like working with business schools. Okay, brilliant. Just we're about to launch into this, but at 2 o'clock, so I want to keep an eye on the time. At 2 o'clock, I'm going to be running something on specifically on LinkedIn. And Catherine mailed in a question earlier on, excuse me, in respect of LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which I've spent the last 3 or 4 months mastering. I'd always avoided it, but I have now got it, and with Fatima's help, then we're and rolled up sleeves and all of that, we're really getting to grips with it. And I have to say, it is a great investment if you know why you're you're doing it. So I'll be doing more about that at 2 o'clock if you're around. Okay, so what we're covering today, if has everyone seen that movie, The Wolf of Wall Street? Most people have, but The Wolf of Wall Street, if that is your impression of what sales is, then I'm afraid I'm going to disappoint you. But if we'd have been together 30 years ago, I'm afraid it was like that. So I'm really pleased to see that the profession has moved on. And I say profession, at the time it would have been with a small p, but right now uppercase P. I think sales is one of the most important professions out there. So what it is, well, it isn't, some common myths and mistakes that people make. I think great sales skills, and I'm going to showcase, if anyone's heard of Peaky Blinders, West Midlands' finest, and we're going to have a look at what how Tommy Shelby sells and why he's so good. But I've managed to find a scene with no swearing or no killing, and that took some doing. But we found a scene, and we're going to be analysing that a little bit. We're going to deconstruct those skills, and we'll take some questions and answers afterwards. And then I've got an offer for you. The two offers actually that you can take advantage of or not. Okay, brilliant. And the session close, I will be aiming to close the session off at 1:45. So keep me honest on time if that's okay. Okay, brilliant. So language of sales, like all professions, whether you're writing a CV, whether you're doing an international MBA, all disciplines, all professions have their own language. Sales is no different. You can see a whole bunch of terms on the slide there in front of you. I'm still sharing, but I want to bring your attention to just 5 for the moment. And the first is suspects, the language of sales. Suspects are literally, imagine Columbo. Suspect is someone that you have never spoken to, but you suspect they may be interested in your product or service. That is a suspect. It's unqualified, it's unconstrained. We haven't spoken to them to see whether they could be a potential customer of ours or not. Prospects are people that we kind of have spoken to before, even just a little bit, or come into contact with, even if it's exchanging a few messages on social media, but we've asked a few questions and we suspect them. I've used that in the wrong context. They could be a prospect of ours. Okay. Next thing is listening. Listening is something I'm really passionate about. You may find that hard to believe given the first 7 minutes or so of this, but listening is incredibly important. But it's incredibly hard as well to listen, what I would call actively, and listen well. And it's also exhausting as well if you have to do it a lot. Building of trust, and I think that is, if there's one thing you take away from this session, I hope there's going to be a few things, but learning how to build trust between you and the rest of the people that you're engaging with, selling, whether it's directly or indirectly. Trust is, I believe, the thing that binds us. Because if you don't have trust, if you haven't built that sort of trust, if you're not trustworthy, then no one's going to buy anything from you, and it's that simple. Features and benefits I'll come into a little bit more, but let's just let's blend here. Oops, Daisy, excuse me. There we go. And features. Welcome if you just joined. Features and benefits we will get into. Features very much 1980s. Benefits Warwick High. Benefits much different. Okay, what's next? Common mistakes of salespeople. A couple of these I've alluded to already. Talking too much. Everyone thinks a dull boy, or whatever it happens to be, some characters that you've seen on television, they're constantly in broadcast mode. You just can't shut them up. You're never going to learn anything about what your prospect wants to buy by doing all the talking. So there's a sensible ratio of talking to listening, I would argue. Excuse me, and we'll be showing you how to oh, thanks, Andrew. I'll be showing you how to kind of do that because I believe it is a skill. So don't talk too much. Not hearing, not really listening to what the client really wants. So some people think listening is just being quiet until the other person has stopped speaking, and then you can bring joy to their lives with all your wisdom, and I'm afraid it doesn't really work like that. So those are common mistakes of salespeople. They don't qualify the sale properly, and that frustrates the process and probably will prevent a sale happening, or you may even enable a sale but for your competition instead, because they'll get fed up with you because you're not listening, and they'll buy from someone else because you don't feel sort of valued. Okay, right. So, and you could leave money on the table if you're not listening properly. You could leave money on the table. You could lose the sale altogether. You actually end up. What does that mean? It means you're wasting your time and wasting that of your prospect as well. Neither of which are desirable sort of outcomes. Features and benefits, of course, they get stuck on features. It's got the M1 chip. And if you've ever heard that really difficult question, so what does that mean? That's a question we have to continually ask ourselves. So we peel back that onion and we get to the very core, the very essence of what our offer really is. Or they could be talking to the wrong people. I remember doing a deal with an investment bank some years ago, 3-year IT services deal. And when we signed up the deal the first time, there were 3 people involved in the approvals process. But after 3 years and lots of regulatory compliance issues coming about, there were 26 people involved in that deal to get it over the line when we went to roll over. And so times change. We can end up talking to the wrong people, not enough people, whatever it is. So that also is the more perhaps advanced or complex side of enterprise selling. Okay, with me so far, any questions? I'll try and have a look at the chat. That would be really good. Apologies for late join. Warwick, oh, you're welcome. No worries. Okay, so some common myths. We've got to be a party animal. We've got to be the life and soul of the party. And I find that really tiring. So you won't be the life and soul of my party, that's for sure. But actually, a guy I used to work with who signed up a pretty big deal with the government, Peter, his name is, he was the quietest person in the room. He signed up a deal with the government, $4.2 billion, the defense infrastructure deal, and drove around in an old, I'll come on to that, but anyway, you would not have known he was in sales. It just didn't come across like The Wolf of Wall Street or any other sales movie you think you might come across. But anyway, so you've got to drive a flashy car, a Ferrari. Those are lovely things. Don't get me wrong, they are lovely things. I can get in them, getting out of them, not so much, trickier, but you've got to have a flashy car to be in sales. That is absolutely not the case at all. And in fact, if you have got one of those cars, good for you. Don't park it outside your customer's building, no matter how proud you are of it, because you're not going to make friends doing that. So just don't do that. And the other thing is, you may recognize this and you may not, is you've got to be a good liar. A Good Liar is the name of the movie that image comes from. It's a great movie, but actually telling lies and sales just aren't compatible for long-term relationships where trust is at the heart of it. Telling lies is absolutely not. So you may get one sale, but you won't get a second sale. And I would argue you'll ruin your reputation in the process as well. So lying is not acceptable. Now, that is very different from managing expectations, which is sometimes where you come into conflict. If you're dealing with anyone that's sold software or is involved in any kind of complex product where development is required, managing expectations is probably front and center of doing that. And we have to have some difficult conversations sometimes, but customers will respect you if you manage their expectations. Okay, so what sales isn't is strong arming your prospect into submission. This is not a wrestling contest. It used to be, not now, and I can't move fast enough anyway. So it's not also taking orders. Now I've run call centers for some pretty big companies before, and sometimes, and if anyone's renewed their mobile phone contract over the last sort of couple of years or so, as I did, I would argue that's not really selling either, because when you're doing inbound, you should be closing 70% of those. They're more of a advisory, consultative. It's not cold, hard, raw data that's going on. It's a much warmer kind of pleasant, civilized conversation, if you like. Okay, so it's not really about that. It's much more involved, much deeper than that. So what it is, I think, sales is influencing someone to buy a product or service from you rather than your competition, or worse, buying nothing at all. Because if you try and blind people with science, features, benefits, all of that kind of stuff, you will end up confusing them, and confused people genuinely or generally don't buy. I like what this chap says, Siva from Mensa Systems, that sales is not so much about selling as most of us would perceive it these days. It's more about education and building trust. It's about informing, because much as you might be fantastic at selling your properties or selling your CV writing skills, you're doing that day in, day out. You're really professional at it. You're really experienced at it. You may not be as good as you hope you might be at selling those services, and that's kind of why we're here. But actually, you're selling those services much more frequently than someone else is buying them. So part of the process is informing our prospect, our potential customer, how to buy the right kind of solution, be it CVs or otherwise. Okay, so I believe we've got everything right from the beginning of the process to the very end of the process. Then the closing deal should be a fairly simple, natural conclusion to that process. There shouldn't be too much tension or conflict going on there. We're not strong arming people. If you've got the right kind of message, the right kind of leads, the right kind of skills and behaviors to draw out what that customer wants to buy, you should be able to convert that into a sale at a much higher ratio or rate than you would do otherwise. Okay, so what does a best practice business to business sales process look like? What's the correct order? So on the left hand side of the screen, you're going to see list of seven parts of the process, phases, if you like. And I would like someone to either put in the chat box or come off of mute if you're comfortable doing that. Tell me what you think might be number one. What might be the first part of the sales process, please?
Is it?
Sorry. Yep.
Making a relationship.
Making a relationship. Okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay. No, all right. That might be. I definitely agree, because that's going to lead to trust. Is that your point, Celine? Was that Celine that said that? Andrea. Okay. Well done. Welcome, Andrea. So making a relationship, yes, is really important. But I believe this is the first part of the process, is even before you speak to the customer or prospect, you have a value proposition. You know what you're doing, and you know what you're selling and who you want to sell it to. I believe that's the first. And then the rest of them, you take that message, if you like, that to market. You generate the right kind of leads. You're generating leads. You're qualifying those opportunities somehow. You are going to pursue them if you decide you want to go for that sale, because you don't have to. You've got rights and entitlements as salespeople, as business people as well. We're going to negotiate and close for the best overall deal. Notice that's not always about just the price. There's lots of other components that go into making up a solution or a deal. And then we're going to maximize the client opportunity. I believe closing the sale isn't the end of that process. It's actually the start of a new one, where we want to keep that customer happy, and all of that. I believe that's essential. Okay, just quick one on this before we kind of move on to what great selling kind of looks like. What do you see in this picture? What does this picture mean to you? Anyone? Who? Okay, let me ask this then. Who is the most powerful? Looking but not necessarily taking it in. Interesting, intrigue. Concentration from Amina. Yes, absolutely. I think that is a look of concentration. Listening intently. Yes, absolutely. I've got you. Listening is really key. I'm glad to see one thing has really landed. So yeah, I would argue. Looking not seriously. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Here's what. Relaxed. I'm gonna go with. And of course, this is an image I just downloaded from, or acquired from Shutterstock. It's a regular image. It wasn't there when it was being photographed, so we are guessing. But there are certain signs that we can look for. The very fact that the female in this picture is not wearing a jacket, as the male is in the picture, leads me to believe that she's more comfortable in those surroundings, more familiar in those surroundings than the male is. And so that might be her offices and the man is the visitor. We have to be careful about assuming, but I think that's a reasonable assumption. A couple of other things here as well. The body position, the man, the person with the back to us, is sat bolt upright, which suggests less than comfortable, trying to control their body language, like I am now, so sat bolt upright, and that's what I read into it. Whereas the woman in this picture is leaning forward slightly, resting her chin on her fingers like this, listening intently. You will also notice that the head is slightly tilted, and it's tilted to her left, and that is generally a listening, thought, concentration type pose. So she's listening for the answer. Her hand is also close to the mouth, so she actually wants to say something, but she's just listening to what the other person is saying. A couple of other minor things here, hand position, head position, talk about that, is that, and this was only pointed out to me on the cohort that I've just in the process of finishing up, is that she also has what I think is an iPad and also a phone right next to it. And often when you're sat with it, and it is International Women's Day, so this is congratulations and to women on the call today. So, but this is what I observe, is that there's an underscoring of importance that generally goes with that generally, now I'm happy to be challenged on that, but that generally goes to sort of subconsciously reinforce importance. So you're probably not going to joke too much with that person, because that is overly familiar, particularly for a first meeting, and certainly not in an interview. You might take that a little more seriously than perhaps you otherwise might. But these are all things that you can observe. And remember, not even a word has been spoken yet, and yet we can observe all these things that are going on. So really important things to observe. We're not going to go into mirroring. Okay, benefits. Now, benefits are really important here. I talked about features and benefits earlier on. Let's imagine that we're going into the shop. We need to buy a laptop for whatever reason, the imaginary scenario. And you're going into Curry's or wherever it happens to be. I want to buy a laptop. That's great. We sell laptops. Well, that's not really good enough. That's not really good enough. We sell laptops. Everyone sells laptops. You can go to Amazon. You can go to a million different people, buy a laptop. Why should I buy a laptop from you? That's the kind of what's the situation we're trying to posit here. On the right-hand side, you can see this what's called a Zeeman pyramid, Z-Y-M-A-N, Zeeman pyramid, which if you sleepwalk into any kind of deal, you're going to be right here around me too. And where I try to get people to is at least here, so they're different, or preferably, hence the word, up here where you're preferred. You're the person that the customer comes to before they go anywhere else to talk about their situation. You're the preferred person. That's where we want to be. Okay, so we sell laptops. That's not really good enough. What happens next? Well, we deliver as part of the laptops that we sell, part of the package is that we make you more productive. Well, actually, that's not good enough either, because any laptop will make me more productive, particularly if you've seen my handwriting. Okay, well, the way we deliver IT for your laptop is it's 30% cheaper because you get much more uptime than you would through someone else. Well, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we know that the way they deliver is different. It's going to give me 30%. It's always good to have a number. 30% cheaper. We're going to get more uptime. When we open the laptop up, it's got a managed Wi-Fi network. It's got a resilient data center at the very back end of things. We just know that our IT is going to work. We don't even have to think about it. It just works. That is a fantastic benefit, particularly for anyone that works from home at all. And if you can get to the point whereby, well, not only can you really rely on our IT, but 75% of our customers renew their service agreement at the end of the first term, typically 3 years or 2 years if you've got a mobile phone. That says lots about their customer service. And so there we've got a whole package of benefits. We know that they're going to be more reliable. We know that they've got great customer service because 3/4 of their contracts renew at the end of the term. So those are benefits. We sell laptops, which make you more productive, is not a benefit. And so I would ask you to think about what it is that you sell, the product or service that you provide. What is it that makes you different? Because different is easier to articulate than better. That's an important point. Okay, brilliant. Right, so I've talked about some fundamentals now in terms of listening, in terms of having the right message, in terms of all of those things. And now what I want to do, excuse me, is I'm going to play you 67 seconds of video from a program that you may even have seen this particular episode before, but I'm going to get you to see it, I hope, in a somewhat different light. I am going to move on just to the next thing. So let's have a look at what actually, no, I'm not going to do that. What actually happened as a result of being on that call. Start selling. There we go. Ding, 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 ding. Right, Tommy Skills Unpacked. Let's go here. There we go. Right, so he had a crystal clear sales message when he first turned up. He had the right go-to-market strategy. His go-to-market strategy was actually go and face people we've got many more choices these days, but his go-to-market strategy actually goes out and talks to people. A bit old-fashioned, I know, but that's it. It was the right kind of lead. It was the right kind of, he had the right ideal customer profile in mind. He was talking to the right person, and he knew what the customer needed to buy because he'd done his research. He'd done his, now, he didn't even have LinkedIn back then, but he'd done his research and he knew something that was going on in the account that Billy Kimber should know about. He took a gift, he took some research, and he knew how to construct a deal, which is negotiation by any other word. And he was confident in his offer, and that actually, if you know the series, that actually went on to a really positive outcome. Brilliant. Okay, right. So what's next? Well, funnily enough, I've got another masterclass cohort coming on, which is kind of hopefully you'll have felt that there are some benefits that you've learned in this already, but I just want to bring your attention. He says, I want to dance Fatima. Absolutely. He says, I want to dance. So it's not a yes, it's not a no, it's speak to the accountant. Yes. Okay. So we've got the next cohort of the Sales Masterclass series, which is going to be cohort number 7 coming up, and you are going to learn all about all of these things to put them together for your own business. There is an early bird deal until tomorrow night at 11:30. So they are in this order: the value proposition, what Tommy said, go-to-market strategy, how you take your messages to market, generating not just any old lead, the right kind of lead, qualify that deal, pursuit strategy, and negotiate and close. All of those things. Both Lisa and Matt, various stages of their career, I think that's okay to say. One very experienced, one midterm experience. They've both been on it and come out with flying colours the other side. So that's the agenda, same kind of agenda. You get that already. The offer, there are 2 offers. The full masterclass series is global currency, so it's $1,167, a saving of nearly $500. Or you can, what we've just covered is the foundation part of my sales video, which you can download from Thinkific. I'll dump these into the chat in just a second. So you can either come on the masterclass series if your budget allows you to, but if not, you can stream the Introduction to Sales, the full program that takes you through many of those principles. Okay, brilliant. So I am going to ask for any questions if you want to put some questions, but until then, let me come off of share a little bit and put you up here so I can actually see you. Thank you for your time and attention anyway for almost the last hour or so, 50 minutes. I appreciate that. Are there any questions that anyone has at the moment? And if you don't, that's fine too. If you want a copy of the slides, if that would be.
Sorry, I'm not making it after all. Excuse me, Keith. Hi. Yeah, I have a question. So I would like to know if you provide any course that you would guide us or mentor us on the like script scenarios in sales scenario, something like how to deal with the customer objections, or in which situation we can apply these kind of communications or something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Like the way first, for example, we follow the 7 steps of sales. First, build rapport, mutual relationship, something like that, and after that, we qualifying the prospect, something like that. So for each step of the sales process, we would have certain question set to ask them, and we also assume certain scenarios that customer reply or give us some kind of objections regarding quotation or something, and how we're gonna deal with it via our communication, something like that. I don't know if you provide certain relevant courses like this. Thank you.
Yes, to most of that. Was that Sharon, by the way? Because I couldn't actually see.
Yeah, it's me, Sharon. Sorry, because my background is a little bit messy, so I need to turn off my screen. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay, right. Jolly good. Yeah. So Sharon, drop me a direct message. I think we're connected on LinkedIn. Drop me a direct message, and I'll talk to you about that kind of offline. If you want a copy of the recording, if that would be helpful, and the slides, just drop me either a DM if we're connected directly on LinkedIn, or into the chat here, which I'll record afterwards. I am running late though, and I just want to make sure that we
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
not
I
at
will
all.
drop you the message. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Fatima. That's okay. If there's anything else, drop me a note, and we'll go from there. But thank you for your time and attention. And I'm going to be doing something specifically on LinkedIn. Gosh, in about 7 minutes, I'm going to go and grab a quick coffee. And yes, Catherine, if you're around, we can talk about LinkedIn Sales Navigator in a bit more detail, if that's okay. Thanks, Stephen. Well, not often that get accused of beautiful presentations, but I'll take it all. Thank you very much, Amina. I really appreciate that. Have a fantastic rest of the day, everyone, and maybe see you in a few minutes if you want to do something on LinkedIn. All right, thanks, everyone. Thanks, Nuss.
Thank you so much, Guy. Thank you for your invitation. Thank
Very, very
you.
welcome. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Staying online.
Sorry.
Are we staying on?